Hello everybody, welcome back to the Junkie channel. I'm your host John Junkins and it is time to nerd out. Now guys, there has been a lot of controversy this past week about the DCU. When I say past week, I mean really ever since Supergirl came out, so the past like 2-3 weeks. People are questioning James Gunn's sort of view on scripts. People are calling the movie lazy. They're calling, his slate kind of wonky, and it doesn't make any sense. The thing is that I agree with them on almost every single part. You see, I actually really like that James Gunn is taking an approach to this universe that lets directors and writers, breathe creatively. They're going the Star Wars method, which means that it's just any period that you want, as long as if you're telling a good story. So we're not worrying about, the next big event, or it's just another episode in a long TV show. But now that's starting just to leave people a little angry, And it's also leaving me also feeling a little, just a little dissatisfied. I trust James Gunn. Crazy statement to say right now in the current comic book climate. But I do really trust James Gunn with this universe. But I hope he is kind of seeing what's going on the internet. I assume that he is. I assume that he is because he's on socials all the time. He always responds to people's Twitter comments. This dude knows what's going on. So I'm going to list 3 ways that I personally think this universe can benefit and change. I'm not saying that I'm better than James Gunn. I'm not saying I can do this job better than James Gunn. I'm just saying that, hold on. I'm just laying out the groundwork for him. Not the groundwork. I'm laying out just what I think would not only make creatives and the business and the sort of art side of it happy, but the fan side too, because it's a very important element, So we're going to keep, James Gunn's ideals and what he's doing, but we're just going to build on it, We're just going to find ways to improve his work, of course. So let's start with the very first reason, which, there goes my... We're going to start with the very first reason, which I think is probably the most important out of the 3, but I'm going to say the tree. Everyone's been complaining about it. Where is Batman and where is Wonder Woman? Now I'm going to say this. There was a little bit period of time, I don't know if you guys remember this, about a year or 2 ago, where there was a possibility that, Robert Pattinson was going to be the DCU Batman. Now, at the time, I actually thought that Robert Pattinson being in the DCU could work. Let me explain. James Gunn pitched this universe as a universe where many different genres and many different types of films can exist at once.
This to be very different from what Superman is going to be when that comes out. We want Peacemaker to be different from that when that comes out. But also, those are just the things I'm doing. Right now, Anna and Craig are dealing with Supergirl, and it's just going tremendously well. We have Chris and Damon and Tom who are dealing with Lanterns, getting ready to shoot that, and that's been amazingly well. So every one of those things is going to be very different. It's a connected universe, and the Creature Commando show is definitely its own thing.
So really, I don't see why Robert Pattinson's Batman can't fit into this universe. Truthfully, I really think the beauty of a cinematic universe is seeing these different genres meld together, because it's such a creative accomplishment, to me at least. I think it gets boring when it's just the same generic action movie, generic action movie, generic action movie. So when they come together, it's, a little bit more entertaining, and it's a little bit more meaty, because you see these different forces and these different styles, mashed together. I just find that way more entertaining to watch. Over time, I became a little bit in the middle. I was a little bit like, you know what, if Robert Pattinson's in the DCU, that's cool. That's awesome. If he isn't, That's cool, that's awesome too, because that means that we get a different version of Batman, and that's 2 different Batmans at once out in the world. Are you kidding me? Who doesn't want that? But now my problem is that we don't have any update on Batman, actually. We have no update on Batman, actually, at all. There have been rumors in the past couple days that James Gunn has cast the DCU Batman, but I don't think that's true. You see, like, Millie Alcock, right when the rumor came out, James Gunn announced her as Supergirl. David Corn said, David Corn sweat. Right when the news got it, immediately James Gunn confirmed it. I believe that if truly the DCU Batman has been cast, James Gunn would have announced it. Now that might not be true, you know. He might be waiting for a moment. They might be doing reshoots for Clayface, which they are right now, and they might be including this no-name actor, and he wants it to be a surprise. I don't know. But what I do know is that people are hungry for Batman. This is kind of leading into another problem I'm going to talk about in reasons 2 and ways 2 and 3 of how to improve the universe. But, you know, we need this character. Superman is just as important as Batman, if not more. I would say Batman is pretty much on the level of superhero importance as Spider-Man. As in terms of popularity, everybody knows Batman. Everybody knows Batman's story. Everyone knows at least some of Batman's villains. Batman is just that iconic. You're starting a DC universe with characters that people, you know, aren't as familiar with. Sure, people know Superman. I mean, I know Superman, of course, but that's also because I'm a nerd. People didn't really start liking Superman until the movie. I know that sounds crazy, but it is true. I talked to my girlfriend actually a couple months before the movie came out, and she actually talked to me about how she kind of found Superman a boring character. She would kind of talk to me about how, you know, she didn't really know what they would do with the character, and I don't really remember the details. She's probably going to be mad at me for even bringing this up in the first place, but, you know, it's true. A lot of people in the general audience found him boring until his movie came out. So they got Superman right? And we need to wait for Batman. Okay. Awesome. That's something that we need to fix, James. Let's fast track a Batman movie. And then there's the forgotten child. Who is on the Mount Rushmore of superheroes. Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is really cool. And I don't think people realize that. You see, this is almost the exact same problem, or it is the exact same problem that Superman had in the general audience for a very long time. People are not familiar with Wonder Woman. At least people who just watch the movies, not read comics. I mean, she's even misused in the comics half the time. They just don't understand Wonder Woman, okay? I mean, they announced an Absolute Batman animated TV show. By the way, super excited for that. But by the way, the best Absolute run is Wonder Woman's. I do love Absolute Batman's comic book run. I think it's super cool. I think it's a great way to take the character, but Absolute Wonder Woman is just so peak. Dude, she has a big sword, and she rides a freaking Pegasus made out of bones. She is so cool, bro. Everyone who tells me that Wonder Woman doesn't deserve to be on the Mount Rushmore superheroes, I immediately do not trust your opinion on superhero media. Now, okay, back to the DCU. We gotta get back to the DCU. Introducing Wonder Woman is almost too important right now. We need to establish our big players, and I know that's hard for you, James Gunn, because you just love to be niche with your characters, but Wonder Woman is too important right now. Supergirl was actually, I think, a good choice for a second movie. You establish Superman, get that popularity, and then you move on to Supergirl. You know, I actually think that's great. And sure, the movie has its problems, but I think it's a great time. With Wonder Woman, that needs to be at a quality that isn't just passable or okay, it needs to be great. So my conclusion with this section is we need the Trinity. People need the Trinity. We need to see these three characters because they are DC's most popular characters. They're going to give you guys a lot of fans. They're going to bring in a lot of people, and you will gain their trust. And please, God, I pray to you, do not let the Themyscira show come out before the Wonder Woman movie. I'm allowing Clayface. I'm allowing Clayface because it looks really cool, and I'm sure that the Themyscira show will be cool. But please, just let me have Wonder Woman first. Okay, next, I'm actually going to talk about the world. Now, this is not my original idea. Actually, this belongs to a guy on TikTok. I don't remember his name, but just don't credit me on this idea. It is someone on TikTok, and if you know who it is, please comment his in the comments, because it's actually really smart. One person can't oversee an entire cinematic universe. It's just not possible. Kevin Feige can kind of do it. He kind of lost his way post-Endgame, but, you know, definitely he is back in the seat of overlooking every single project. Now, James Gunn can do this method, but I think the problem is that DC is a really big universe. The truth is that no one can understand every single character. Now, you LARPers might disagree with me, but there's a lot of characters in DC that I don't understand as much as others. And I'm a big DC guy, but I don't really know much of anything about the Green Lantern Corps. I haven't really picked up, you know, I haven't picked up a lot of Teen Titans or Nightwing or other characters that I'm interested in. I just haven't really done a lot of, you know, reading or research on. So the solution I'm proposing, right, is departments. A department for Themyscira / Wonder Woman. A department for, you know, Superman, Metropolis, all that stuff. Department for Atlantis. A department for the Green Lantern Corps. Do you see what I'm getting at? He hires creatives that can be directors, that can be producers, people who maybe understand these characters or know comic books a little bit more than James Gunn does. Not that James Gunn doesn't know comic books, he obviously does, but you know, the characters that maybe James Gunn doesn't know all that much about, you know? So we split up these departments so that they all can still flow into the same cinematic universe, right? James Gunn can still be in the middle of this. Yeah, he can still be checking up on the departments. Now, I know that this is a lot of work, but I actually think that it can work. I actually do really think so. I don't think James Gunn has bad taste or anything. I actually think he can really spot a good script. But I definitely also think that it should not be one person's opinion. And then if James Gunn really wants to, he can be the final say, you know? Yeah, I just think multiple departments is a good idea. Having a lot of those creatives could just make the universe just feel even more giant and epic. So, I don't know, yeah. The third thing I want to talk about is the This, I feel like, has been people's biggest complaint about the universe so far. James, what are we building to? Now, I know I said at this, you know, the beginning of this video, that I think that some of the problems with the MCU is that it almost just feels like one long TV show when it shouldn't. Every single movie should feel like its own, which is what I'm praising, you know, the way that he's producing these films, you know, it's just like, make the movie your own, don't worry about the connectivity. But We're not building towards a Justice League. We're not building towards a Dark Side. We're not building towards any sort of giant event. It almost feels like, James, that you don't have a plan. Now, some people have some theories because of, salvation and, that's really the only theory I've actually seen. I just don't really know what he could be doing, because he's already confirmed that Darkseid is not the big bad. What I'm trying to say is don't MCU it. Don't do the same thing that the MCU does. I just think that we need to feel like, we're building towards something. Hey guys, it's Editing John. I don't think I explained this correctly or well enough, so I think the best way I can describe the claim I'm trying to reach is that you can't expect an audience to be invested if they don't know what they're getting invested for. Thank you. Man of Tomorrow, I actually think might be doing this. I think this is going to be a really, really big step in the direction that we wanted to go. I don't want to sound like a brain rot kid when I give this section, but I genuinely feel like you would get a lot more excitement and engagement from general audiences by building up to a big event. You can make whatever you want the event to be. It can be some niche-ass run, James. I don't care. But you need to build up to something. I actually saw some people theorizing that he's building towards a Justice League International and not just a Justice League, which I also think is also a bad idea. We already have some of the original members. An International, Justice League International, needs to be a little bit more time. I think we need to start with the base Justice League. We need the core people, because that will help the audience latch on even more. People freaking love the original Avengers, okay? People love them. We love seeing them all interact together. I mean, that's the best part of the first movie. So you're telling me you're gonna give yourself that? You're not gonna put, 6 or 7 charismatic actors in a room and act at each other? Because that sounds really awesome. We just need to be more connected. That's all, James. I want to know what you're doing. Tell me what you're doing. I actually don't think the DCU has any major problems. I actually think it's a super fun universe so far. It's colorful, it's energetic, it has really cool characters, and it feels like a lived-in comic book world. I can wait for a Justice League, I can wait for a big, epic final movie, but I think general audiences are having a hard time latching on to these films because they don't have a reason to care just yet. So, let's establish our Trinity, set up some departments so that there's a little bit less of a workload on you, James, and let's connect them all and do some team-up films. Alright guys, that's all I really had. I just wanted to rant for a little bit and give my little 2 cents. I don't think I'm better than James Gunn. I actually still think he's doing a great job. I will say that a million times. So anyways, if you guys like this video, please subscribe. Subscribe, like, comment, do whatever you want. I don't know, turn on my post notifications. Alright guys, I'm going to go make some chicken nuggets, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.